All right, welcome back to another episode of Sean and Ed's Do Baseball.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Ed.
And we are here doing the baseball history.
That's right, we're a bi-weekly baseball history podcast where the story catcher doesn't know what the story pitcher is going to be out there throwing them.
And this 100th episode, Edsy.
Yes, it's a big milestone, Sean. We finally got there.
Yeah, we did.
Not that we really set out to get here, but we did it.
We did it. And it's about a catcher.
Oh, wow.
It is about a backup catcher.
Oh, okay. That sounds about right for our podcast.
That's
You're
right.
plucking another player from obscurity.
Yep. And where can people find us, Edsy, if they're joining us for the first time?
They can find us on Twitter at Doing Baseball and on Instagram and TikTok at Doing.Baseball. And I am on Twitter at Ed's Do Baseball.
I'm on the X Twitter machine at Sean Do Baseball. And I definitely want to give a shout out to our favorite sponsor, our only sponsor, and our favorite beer, and that is Two Loons Brewing. You can find their IPAs and their lagers available at LCBOs across Ontario. Also, keep a lookout. Their brick and mortar location coming real soon, and they got some fun stuff at your local bar, hopefully, as well. So keep a lookout for it. And as always,
please be of legal drinking age and, of course, enjoy responsibly.
That's right.
As you will do now.
I will rejoice insightfully. I mean, enjoy responsibly.
I don't know if you're enjoying responsibly. It doesn't sound like you have been.
Well, and we have others with us enjoying responsibly today as well. This is a very monumentous occasion, and for our 100th episode, we could not think of any two people better than our good friends and alumni from past episodes. First of all, we have JP joining us from California. JP, how are you?
Hi, guys. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Thanks for coming back, JP.
Oh, always a pleasure. It's my favorite podcast.
Thank you for saying that.
Why'd you laugh? What was that about?
I don't.
I mean it.
I appreciate you. I appreciate
I'm
you.
100 episodes deep into this, man.
Well, you are my favorite guitar player, and that's kind of mean because I'm sitting next to Spence as well.
I was just
But
okay.
Tell everybody about what you do and about your band.
I'm in a band called Stray Rebel Bullet. We just should I plug now or should I?
Yeah, go plug. That's what I'm saying.
I'll plug away. Yeah, no, we just we got an album out. It's called The Form of Finality. You can find it on Spotify. I just released a group of solo kind of materials. You can find that on Spotify. You just search for my name, Jean Poincelet, on Spotify.
Amazing.
Did I say Spotify enough times?
No, one more.
Spotify. Thank you.
You can find us on Spotify as well, everybody. And to my left, coming to you from Ontario along with me and Edsy, we have Spencer Levon from our Rock and Roll Eagles
Softball
episode. Spence, how are you today?
Pretty darn good, boys, gotta say.
Yeah, well, welcome back to Do Some Baseball, Spencer.
I'm ready to do some baseball, to be honest with you. I mean, there's so much baseball to do these days.
You're not lying.
And if we don't do it, it's just not going to get done, I feel. So
That's right.
Yeah.
And if something's worth doing, you got to do it yourself.
that's right.
That's right. Speaking of doing stuff yourself, you tune up some pianos in around Toronto in the GTA?
Yeah. Tune up pianos, pianotuners.ca. Also have a metal band called FACEPLANT.
Yeah.
That's right. So you can check that out, too, if you're...
Are you on Spotify?
I bet you I am, yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're going to do a little something different to lead off. Edsy, what do you got for us? We're going to talk a little bit and reminisce, I think, just a few minutes. So if you want to just hear, if you're just here for pure story, probably cut ahead.
Yeah, you can cut ahead probably 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see how long we get into this. We wanted to talk about, we wanted to reminisce a little bit about some of our favorite episodes because we have got through 100. So I don't know. Do you want to talk about the favorite episodes that you've done first?
I mean, I really wanted to talk about my favorite episodes that you have done.
Okay, well, I feel the same way. So I don't know. I'll concede, and sure, we could talk about the favorite episodes that I've done. So
Can I
lead
start?
it off? Sure.
So, first of all, the Million Pieces of Candy episode.
I picked that as well.
I listened to that today, and at the beginning of that one, we rip on that it's our 32nd or 33rd episode, and that we have, 90 new, or like, we talk about 100 episodes like it's a fever dream at that point.
Okay.
And, that one is...
I don't remember that. That's very fitting.
No, that one's just a great one because it's a pure ridiculous moment in baseball history, and I don't know. There are episodes that you kind of like have that like kind of set the bar, and then you just kind of keep trying to knock that one down. I feel like that was a bar setting episode.
Yeah, I listened back to that one this morning actually after making some notes just kind of from my own memory, and that story sort of had a bit of everything. Like it had some marketing and like contest history with the involvement of Tootsie Rolls, and thus with the involvement, the ridiculous prize of 1 million Tootsie Rolls
Didn't make sense.
And again, the ridiculous, I can't think of the word, but how much that motivated Dave Concepcion. Like he did it for his baby.
Do either of you guys like Tootsie Rolls?
I actually love them.
Wow.
Oh no, terrible.
See?
Dude, I bought one the other day. Seriously, last week I bought a Tootsie Roll just to reminisce.
Tootsie Rolls are like wartime.
It's
candy,
funny, at the
right?
beginning of the episode, we're just talking shit completely. Well, through the episode, I
It
feel
was
like.
made in, I believe it was 1886 or something like that. And I
About that
immediately
time.
say, oh, that tastes like it was made in 1886.
It really does taste like the Great Depression or something.
It is one of those, like hard times candies, it seems like.
Yeah, it's like you weren't really meant to enjoy anything that much back then. I feel like the candy just represents a different time.
That's why it survived, because times were so hard that piece of shit was such a treat.
There you go.
What is it though? What is it made of? Because it's not chocolate.
Listen
right?
to that episode,
yeah.
JP.
It's like
Jeez.
taffy
We do
mixed with
touch
like
upon
black licorice
but-
or something. It's a mess.
Molasses and
Okay.
cocoa.
We do touch upon the history of how it's made, and just a little fun fact I'll quickly mention is that the recipe does call for the previous day's batch to be mixed in with what they're making today. So there is a chance that the original 1886 or whatever Tootsie Roll is in every little Tootsie Roll that you
feel
ate.
like-
The one you ate however long ago you said you got it.
It's the thing though. It's like I feel like that has more to do with just saving the money out. I don't think that was like an artistic, like, this is all about the candy. I think that's like, what do we do with all yesterday's batch? We'll throw it in the new batch, asshole.
absolutely.
We're trying to make some money here.
Absolutely.
It's not like a fine ramen or something that's been, in the same pot for the last 100 years, generation to generation. It's a damn Tootsie Roll, gang.
Yeah, it's not going bad.
It's not like the mother dough. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like you keep reusing. Yeah.
All right.
I thought it was like they reuse it for artistic purposes. Like the mother dough, like sourdough bread. You got to get that original flavor in there.
A bit of that patois on it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
Maybe there's something to it.
There you go. Well, moving on from Tootsie Rolls, I think, I honestly, Edsy, my favorite episode that I will say that you taught me the most and brought somebody into the podcast that I never, expected was the John Bender episode, where if you are unfamiliar with that episode, it is there is a Hall of Fame pitcher. I'm gapping on his actual name right now, but he's known as Chief Bender, and his younger or older brother John has just a absolutely ridiculous side story and ends up dying in Edmonton.
Yeah,
and
he stabbed a man on a boat.
He did. It was his own coach he stabbed on the boat.
Yes, that's right.
Well, intoxicated.
I wasn't trying to give it all away.
No, that was just I will say those two episodes from me, from you, I know there was another one I was thinking of, but those two in particular, those are my favorites. 100 episodes in, If you haven't heard those 2 episodes, definitely, Edsy, I think it's like your finest work.
Well, thank you for saying that. I it's weird that we agreed, but anyway.
Yeah. What do you got?
Well, I said another one that I wanted to add because there's so many that we've done right now that I kind of looked at some early episodes and some later episodes. So that was more of an earlier one, but a later one that I liked doing myself was the one on Charlie Faust.
Oh my God.
You know?
Oh, that was the other one I was thinking of.
Had his destiny sealed by a trip to the county fair.
Yeah, and the fortune teller told him he'd lead the Giants to the World Series.
Yes, yeah.
And then the coach let him on the team because a fortune teller said that.
Because McGraw was goddamn superstitious. But anyway, that was one of my more favorite recent ones to do.
That was a hilarious one.
Okay, so I guess we could move on from talking about my episodes.
I was going to
talk about yours. My favorite one that you did was the San Diego chicken episode.
The chicken.
Because that just had like well, I mean, it's a ridiculous story altogether, but it had a bit of Canadiana.
Yep.
You know, I didn't realize I didn't realize that much about the San Diego chicken at all, but, I was really surprised to learn that he was actually a Canadian-born man, and that it hadn't even originated as a team mascot. He was just a radio personality, really.
He was just a chicken. He was just a short guy that could fit in a chicken suit
Yeah.
and became a millionaire.
Yes.
Because of that. So... what else? Is there any others? I don't want to be like, what else do you
What
have?
else you
You
got?
shower me in
In praise.
In praise.
I also liked your Rinku Singh one.
Oh, okay.
As a more recent one because, you kind of had... Well, I don't think you intended to deceive me, but, it started out, obviously, mostly about his, life through being the $1 million arm person, and then you completely surprised me with what direction his career ended up taking these days. But again, I don't want to give away too much of the episodes. People should go and listen to them.
I like that one. I didn't think about that one as a favorite for sure, but
I just feel like that one had like some fun banter in it, and we were like joking about him not being able to show up to his new job and, jokingly getting kicked out of 3 hotels while he mastered a skill that, was integral to making it. You know?
So do you want to do what's your favorite? What was your favorite that you've done for the podcast? Like the most fun to read. You talked about Charlie Faust. Is that your like favorite?
No, I think my favorite one was the 1 million pieces because it was just such a ridiculous story with like, how complicated the system was of like keeping track of what the 1 millionth run was going to be, how it all started with like, just a college kid doing the math from his baseball encyclopedia and being like, holy shit, like maybe I could make some money off a promotion for the 1 millionth run, and and how it all came down to like a foot race, literally, like maybe 8 yards apart down to
like hundreds of miles apart.
2,000 miles away.
Yeah. Okay, that was great. I want to take a moment to say, I think, in all honesty, Spence, JP, Edsy, the 2-part Eric Shao episode I did, still to this day, I honestly feel like it's like probably one of the best things I've ever written in my life.
I will say that was one that I had a hard time leaving off the list, and frankly, I did because I didn't want to write notes about a 2-part episode.
Honestly,
but yes, that's a great one you did. Yeah.
No, that makes me sad. Like that episode is we're talking about a lot of fun episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Charlie Faust and the million people. Like that one is like tragic.
Yeah, that is a tragic story.
So many ways, and the life of Eric Shaw. So as a personal on this 100th episode. Before we record this one, that would be mine. If you're out there, I would appreciate the listen for the Eric Shao episode and all these that we're talking about. Honestly, it's been so much fun doing these episodes with you, Edsy. So, yeah, listen to all of them. Don't listen to us.
Yeah, please listen to all of them, and I'll echo your sentiment there. It has been fun doing baseball with you, Sean, for 100 episodes. So let's get into the 100th episode, I guess.
Okay, so first off, Edsy, it's our 100th episode, so we're going to just make sure that we reiterate our Nap La Joie policy.
Nap La Joie for the name?
The
How
name.
to pronounce his name?
Yeah, it is. It's La Joie.
Yeah.
It's not La Joie.
I've heard many accounts that contradict our pronunciation, but John Lajoie is the first name I heard with that spelling, so that's what I'm going for.
That's it. Nap La Joie only comes up once in this podcast today.
All right, interesting you would start with that then.
Well, that's the 100th episode. I thought we'd just lay down the ground rules again.
Okay.
So, September 22nd, 1870, Michael Riley Powers is born in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, first-generation Irish-American.
Okay, strong name.
Yeah, Mike Powers.
Not bad.
Not bad. So, Mike was a catcher, and a good one by the sounds of things, something extremely rare and valuable back in those days. But he was also a bright young man, and I could not find basically anything about his childhood, guys, but he did well enough in school to continue his education. And that's where we pick up with Mike's baseball career. Because he played baseball at the College of the Holy Cross, where he was a standout on the team and even helped in their recruitment, convincing Major Leaguer Louis Sockalexis to join the team.
Okay, is that the name you said you were going to have a hard time with?
There is several names.
It's just the first of many.
Yeah, no, Louis Sockalexis. Remember I told you there's. Anyways, this is the guy. We're gonna do an episode on him. But to get a little bit more into it, in the summer of 1893, Powers, along with a few other members of the Holy Cross baseball team, played in an amateur county league in Maine. Sockalexis, a Native American from the nearby Penobscot, Indian Island Reservation, played for one of the teams in the league and was an impressive talent. Powers encouraged Sockalexis to return with them to Worcester, Massachusetts, and enroll at Holy Cross, which he did, and the two became great friends.
Okay.
And
So Powers and Sockalexis are good buddies now.
They're good buddies. Eventually, the Holy Cross coach would leave for the University of Notre Dame, and many of his players, including Sockalexis and Powers, would follow him, which is kind of weird, considering it's university.
I guess.
You're just like, coach is leaving.
It's like a Deion Sanders situation. Like, followed him to Notre Dame.
You're going to transfer just because the baseball coach is changing?
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Powers excelled in the classroom and behind the plate, displaying great defense and an ability to handle tough pitches his contemporaries wouldn't dream of catching or blocking. His hitting was never the best, but like so many catchers who would come after him, Powers would get a shot in the bigs for his sacrifice, cunning, and prowess behind the plate, with a hit or an RBI just being a bonus.
Okay. So they're not bringing him up for the bat. They like how he just lets himself get smoked by wayward balls. He's a good blocker.
He's a great blocker.
Okay.
I really thought we weren't going to have a lot of information to talk about with Powers, but this is just one of those stories that comes up every once in a while in these episodes that you just love to just shoehorn in there. So in April 1896, Powers would get his first taste of major league talent as he played with the Petersburg Farmers of the Virginia League. The reigning National League champion Baltimore Orioles traveled to Petersburg, Virginia for a pair of exhibition games. They had a B lineup, but it was still big news when the Farmers pulled off a 7-7 tie against the Major League team. But in the second game, Powers would play a big role, but not in the way you'd think. Basically, he was an umpire in this game. So they had two games.
Okay.
It's exhibition, and this is they didn't have real umpires, so the teams each picked a guy to ump one game.
Okay. It's just one umpire for the game, or one guy from each team?
One guy from each team.
Okay.
And
Do you think that's like getting selected as like the designated driver? You're like, ah, shit, I'm the ump this time.
Yeah.
you're the backup catcher, right? Like Powers. Also, by the sounds of things, he's an upstanding guy. We'll get to that in a little bit. Like he's a very trustworthy fellow.
Like Powers are called a sound game.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So Petersburg was leading 1-0 in the 7th. And remember, the Orioles are already embarrassed because they got tied in the first game. Powers called Orioles third baseman Jim Donnelly out looking on strikes. Then a full-on fucking riot broke out.
Nice.
What?
So,
I love a good baseball riot, by the way.
Oh,
it just hits different, you know?
oh, dude,
Was
this
there
one...
guns at this one?
There was definitely guns at this one.
Okay.
I just love running full tilt like across a baseball field just to punch a guy in the head. It's like you run for like a full kilometer. That's an American mile.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Pete, you'd be a good Petersburg fan because you'll hear from the Baltimore Sun, and I quote, "Several promising runs had been cut off by similar umpiring, and the Birds were getting very sore at such outrages. Donnelly objected, and Hugh Jennings went up to Powers, who was standing behind the pitcher, and said something to him. Just then, Charles Schulte, who had also run up, struck Jennings in a stinging blow on the side of the head without warning. The blow
Sucker punch this guy?
Nice.
because he was yelling at his teammate, who was also the umpire. The blow drew blood. Orioles first baseman Jack Doyle then punched Schulte, knocking him to the ground. This caused Petersburg's fans to pour onto the field as they began attacking Doyle and other members of the Baltimore club.
Oh my
That's
god.
great. No, I love a sucker punch too. Like they say it's not right to hit someone when they're not looking, but can you think of a better time? Same with don't kick a guy when he's down. Well, what are you going to do to him?
Exactly. In this case, the fans saw that sucker punch and were like, "We want in."
Yeah. It's awesome.
We will avenge that.
Yeah. So the Orioles fled back to their hotel, where the fans tracked them down.
Oh god.
Another fight ensued.
Where do you stay?
And the Orioles were forced to flee on the next train out of town, all because Mike Powers called strike 3 on Jim Donnelly.
God damn it, Mike.
So that was just a little shoehorn story in there. That Powers had very little. Well, I mean, he was the catalyst, but he didn't. You know, I found that on a very random baseball history website. So Powers would move on from Notre Dame, and he would finish his doctorate, guys, fucking doctorate, at the Louisville Medical College. And the reason he went to Louisville was because Mike Powers was headed to the big leagues. Woo!
Okay.
Yeah.
You're telling me his name was Dr. Powers?
His name is fucking Dr. Powers.
That's such a villain name.
It is amazing. It is shortened to Doc, but yes.
Doc Powers?
Yeah.
That's even better.
That's like an anti-hero, actually. It's like kind of a guy who's, maybe he's seen some shit. And he's changed his ways a bit.
Doc
He's fighting
Powers.
for the good side.
Doc Powers is the kind of guy that lights a cigarette with another cigarette.
That's true.
A little bit. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So Powers signed with the
Menthols.
I don't think they had menthols in 1898.
Filterless for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, carrying on.
Powers signed with the Louisville Cardinals of the National League, where he made his major league debut at the age of 27 on June 12th, 1898, where he would play 34 games while catching 22 of them and occasionally filling in at first base. He did pretty decently. I rip on his hitting, and I will again. In 99 ABs, he hit 273 with 8 extra base hits, including his first major league home run. Pretty good considering I just shit-talked his hitting. Look at that. I prefaced it, and I finished
Not
it.
too bad. I mean, I don't think you really shit-talked his hitting. You just more or less said he was much better known for his defense.
That's true. That's true. And I'll just get to it because he's not great at hitting. So 1899, Powers were into 49 games with the Colonels. His batting stats came back to earth, and he hit .217 with 12 extra base hits in 169 at-bats. His teammates and the press would give him a nickname when they learned of his off-field studies and ambitions, and the rest of this episode, as we just discussed, he will be known as Doc Powers.
Okay.
So, the Doctor is sold. He is sold to the Washington Senators in September of 1899. He played just 14 games for the Senators at the end of the season, collecting 10 hits in 39 at-bats. The timing was poor for Powers as the NL contracted after the 1899 season, and Louisville, Baltimore, Cleveland, and Washington all folded. Powers suddenly had no job, but who cares? You're a doctor.
Yeah, you got a backup plan.
Yeah, that's a job, isn't it? A doctor?
World domination.
He's not an evil doctor yet.
Oh, okay.
He's not Dr. Evil yet.
Did you say yet?
I mean, he doesn't get there. In an alternative universe, he definitely becomes an evil doctor. But there is a new league emerging at this time to rival the National League. And Doc Powers jumped aboard. He joined the Indianapolis Hoosiers of the American League, which at the time was still not a major league yet. The Hoosiers.
What year was this? 1900?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Hoosiers finished third, and Powers played 110 games for the club, but once again found himself on the outs as the Hoosiers folded at the end of the season because Ban Johnson was realigning the American League to compete with the National League. And Indianapolis, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Minneapolis would be replaced by clubs in Boston, Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Washington in order to compete with the NL. So this is how the Philadelphia A's first season was born.
Okay.
1901, a former catcher named Connie Mack, who we have talked about at length on this without him having his own episode, was tasked with managing this team. But first, he needed players. Mack would not just recruit from folding American League teams, but also convince some players from the National League, including the aforementioned Nap Lajoie, to join the A's. Okay. But Mack also reached out to the Doctor. Mack's biographer, Norman Matched, would later say, Mack preferred a good brain over a good bat behind the plate any day.
All right. I mean, it makes sense. I think that's still pretty common sentiment today.
Yeah. You gotta be smart to be a catcher.
I mean, you want your number one guy to hit, too, but...
Well...
Can't be hitting and dumb back there. You know? Can't leave it all up to the pitchers. You couldn't have face outwards. Face the guy on the mound. Face him.
Yeah, you couldn't have Rube Waddell or behind the plate. So Powers would find his long-term home in Philadelphia. He eventually took the Pennsylvania state medical exam and became licensed to practice in the state. In the off-season, he would practice medicine and would even help many of his teammates with aches and pains. We get to that a little bit later, too. In the A's inaugural season, Powers would play 116 games, which was a career high. He hit .251 with 32 extra base hits, including another home run. So that makes it 2 home runs in the major leagues.
Nice.
The A's finished 4th in the league with a respectable 74-62-1 record to start their existence.
And won.
And what? They tied. There's a tie.
I guess, yeah.
They didn't have lights.
No lights, yeah.
They didn't have lights. When it got dark, you took your ball and went home.
Yeah.
So, 1902, Powers began to settle in as the backup catcher. In May of that year, A's picked up Ozzie Schreckengost. That's the guy I was talking about.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like you did pretty good.
Schreckengost. Classic Shrek. They called him Shrek.
Did they?
Yeah, I'm not kidding. We're gonna definitely do an episode on him one day. He was fucking crazy.
Lived in a swamp.
Yeah. Had a donkey that he said talked. But so they pick him up from Cleveland, and by July, basically Powers would be the backup to Shrek. Shrek was younger and hit .324 that year. Powers was no slouch at this point hitting. He hit .264, but had basically no power and only 10 extra base hits in 264 at-bats, including 2 more home runs. In fact, would be the last home runs he would hit in his career. So June 8th, 1902, against the Tigers' Joe Yeager, he hit a home run, and as you'll hear, he played 7 more years and 1,400 more plate appearances without hitting a home run.
Okay, so I'm just picturing a slap hitter kind of guy.
Well, yeah.
Like a Josh Tolley kind of dude,
Not
but
even-
better hitter, maybe. A little bit better.
Yeah, like Josh Tolley, Jeff Mathis, all these backups that just don't hit.
Mm-hmm.
So
It sounds to me like this guy hit better than Tolley would have, though.
early maybe, but
Anyway.
we'll get to it. So with these two, they got 2 great catchers. That's all we need to really know. Mack would lead the A's to their first ever pennant in 1902, finishing 5 games ahead of St. Louis. There was no World Series back then, so they were just like, yay, we won the pennant. Powers lived in Jeffersonville, Pennsylvania in the off-season, and at this point he had a wife and 2 kids. By the sounds of things, he's not an evil doctor, guys. He's the best neighbor you could have.
Oh, that's just a trick, man.
Yeah.
That's a cover.
So he gives his neighbors free medical assistance, but also was like a talker. Just loved to hold court at the pub or on the street corner and chat your ears off about anything. And
Okay.
because it's,
Talk powers.
Talk powers, yes, talk powers. I'm not kidding. That works with this next quote I'm about to, because he was such a good talker and such a good neighbor that the Scranton Tribune wrote about it.
Cool.
Not about his baseball career, about how he's like Mr. Rogers.
He's a nice guy.
Yep.
Okay.
And I quote, "Doc does the talking and others just listen. For be it known that in oratorical leagues, Powers bats in the 300 class. If he could be that good in the American League, he could afford to live in the city."
That's great.
This guy's a Hall of Fame talker.
Was there just no news back then?
Absolutely no news.
Apparently not.
I think the real news is that you go to your neighbor for like medical stuff, like, hey, sorry, the wife's making a cake. We just need a half cup of flour. Also, can you drain the cyst?
Yeah.
He would tell you about it. He'd be like, I could absolutely drain this cyst. Do you want to know where the word cyst comes from? It actually...
It's like, when you used to buy some weed and you have to
Talk to the
watch your drug dealer play Diddy Kong Racing for a half hour before he could leave with some pot. Like, this guy will give you free medical advice, but you got to listen bada your ear off about baseball. It's a jerk.
Not just about baseball. The article goes on, Spence, to say Power can talk about any subject, from how to boil cabbage without wasting water to seismic disturbances on skyscrapers. And the way Doc tells it, you're sure to be convinced.
That's the thing. It's like they noted in the newspaper that he's the kind of guy that just yaps over you. Everyone had a noticeable, indifferent look in their face, just trying to play dead until he stops talking about God knows what.
Boiling
No,
cabbage.
hold on. Give it a chance. It's not God knows what. I'm very interested to know how you boil cabbage and save water.
You gotta reuse the water.
That sounds like a good use of 15 minutes to listen to this jerk
Well, and
wax poetic
I
about
enjoy
cabbage.
sauerkraut.
Okay, and Spence is right, where he can be a bit of a jerk with his gabbing, because once again, this article also claims, and I quote, Power holds the record of nearly parting a bride and groom on their honeymoon and patching up the difficulty all in one night. He talked the bridegroom in and out of trouble.
Okay, so he's a marriage counselor as
This
well.
guy's really doing a
all
lot.
bases covered.
Do you really want to be doing this, buddy? I don't think you really should be with this woman. I mean, look at her. I mean, damn, she's beautiful. Of course you should be with this lady. Dude, did you hear what he said? Honey, you should be with him. He loves you. He was telling me everything.
He's so good at talking, he can even reason with a woman.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was just cut from the article because it was just a little too long. So, back to not just random newspaper articles about how good he is at talking. He's a part of a catcher tandem that's the foundation, every manager would want. And he, Doc became an important part of the team and had the security of being the preferred and primary catcher for future Hall of Famer Eddie Plank. Plank was weird as fuck on the mound, and with a long, deliberate delivery that finished with a left-handed crossfire release that very much would get buried in the dirt. Like, I'm just thinking, I gabbled that sentence up a bit. Just think of, like, Randy Johnson in the early 1900s. Just crossfire, left-handed, really tough to catch. That kind of a pitcher that throws like that. And especially this guy had a weird delivery. Plank would talk to himself on the mound constantly. When it was like, he'd get to the 7th and he'd be like, 9 outs, 9 outs, 9 outs. And he'd be saying it loud. And then 8 outs, 8 outs, 8 outs. And he'd also be saying it loud.
It'd be a high pressure situation potentially.
Yeah. So sports writer Stephen O'Galley would write, Doc handled everything. Yes, I know, Stephen O'Galley. Doc handled everything Plank could use without any apparent extra effort or trouble. Plank is not the easiest pitcher in the business to handle, as many a catcher who has tried will testify. But Powers apparently reveled in Plank's stubborn delivery. Crossfire Doc seemed to fairly eat up, and no matter how hard or low did some of Plank's shoots go, Powers invariably mitted them, which other catchers would have let slip away to the grandstand. So he's a backup defensive catcher.
Yeah.
He's great at catching Eddie Plank, who's a shithead to catch. And
he's
Powers,
some very poetic praise in the newspaper.
And this is the most like early 1900s thing. So Powers would cheer on Plank, and he would constantly yell back at Plank, "Work hard, old boy, work hard."
Okay. It's like a curler.
Yeah, very weird. So Shrek and Ghost was easily the better, and once again the younger of the two. And Mac sung his praises in the media, saying decades later that Shrek and Ghost more with gloved hand than any other catcher who has come along. I think that's him saying Shrek and Ghost was a good defensive catcher too. More with gloved hand than any catcher who has come along.
That sounds like that's what they're trying to say.
But on the other side of things, even though Shrek and Ghost was better than Doc, he was also fucking nuts, with Max saying Shrek and Ghost was the wilder of the two in many aspects. And also, Shrek and Ghost was Rube Waddell's personal catcher. And of the two, he was wilder. That's what he's saying there.
Wilder than Rube Waddell,
yes.
The man who chased fire trucks and
Yes,
was obsessed with the color yellow?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's saying something, buddy.
Yep. So I'm betting that Connie Mack saw Doc, even as he began to age and slow down, as a bit of an old reliable type, contrasted with Shrek's antics. And that's not to say Powers did not exhibit some habits known to ball players at the time. For one time, Rube Waddell told a young reporter in the team hotel who was just wandering around looking for a scoop, he's like, I'll take you to see Connie. But him and Doc Powers are playing poker, and Doc hates to be disturbed when they're gambling. All right. So Doc's a gambler, but he's friends with the manager, right? So I don't know. I just kind of put that in there because it just kind of shows he's an older guy, right? He's in his 30s at this point. He's gambling with the coach. He's just kind of like
old school dude.
Yeah, he's
salt of the earth, really.
Yeah. So over the next 2 years, Doc settled into the role as backup and poker playing pal to Connie Mack. In 1903, he got into 75 games, collected just 12 extra base hits in 247 at-bats, hitting .227. But his bat began to fall off even more in the next 2 years. In 1904, he got into just 57 games and hit .190, with only 3 extra base hits in 196 at-bats. The now 33-year-old doctor's best days were definitely behind him, but his acumen behind the plate extended his career, as we just talked about. It was also great having a doctor on the team, as the Scranton Tribune Tribune said, "Whenever a ball player gets hurt during a game or a spectator becomes ill, the cry is always raised for Powers, and he kindly obliges."
I
Were
mean,
there no doctors around? Was he the only doctor? Like,
Not team doctors.
like each baseball team needs to have a doctor/player if they want medical attention.
if they want to save money, absolutely, yeah.
It's not much of a shortstop, but he's a great dentist.
That's all. So, in 1905, the A's would win their second pennant, holding off the White Sox by 2 games. Powers would get just 60 plate appearances and 21 games for the A's during the regular season, but he also didn't spend the whole year with the A's. On July 13th, 1905, Powers was loaned, not traded, just loaned, to the New York Highlanders, who are now the Yankees, who were beat up behind the dish. Powers would play just 11 games for the Highlanders before being sent back to the A's on August 11th. But in those 11 games, he caught a man named Eustace James Newton, otherwise known as Doc Newton, because Newton was also a doctor.
All right.
Was he a mad scientist?
No, he was actually more of a dentist. Spence kind of hit on that early. It was the only time in baseball history where the pitcher and the catcher were both doctors.
All right.
Cool.
Interesting.
Just random fact. So, Powers returns to the A's, and they go on to lose the 1905 World Series in 5 games to the Giants. Powers collected a double in 7 at-bats in his only career trip to the World Series. From 1906 to 1908, Michael Doc Powers was the truest of true backup catchers, averaging 60 games a year, hitting 173 with an on-base percentage of exactly 200, which is god-awful.
Not very good at all.
The closest the A's would come to winning another pennant with Powers was in 1907, when they finished a game and a half back of the American League champion Detroit Tigers. So why, I ask you fellows, did we do this episode on Michael Doc Powers? Well, the reason for that is if you Google his name and don't look hard enough, you will see Doc Powers referred to as the first major leaguer to die from his injuries sustained during a game.
Oh.
All right.
Oh,
Interesting.
shit.
So,
Because I thought I did the episode on possibly the first guy, but apparently I'm wrong.
no, you're right.
I am? Okay.
But if you look at Powers' Wikipedia, it cites a June 2002 article by Jeff Marin on ESPN that says, Powers was catching in the first game played in Shibe Park in Philadelphia when he crashed into a wall going after a pop fly. He remained in the game but suffered from internal injuries that took his life 2 weeks later, when gangrene set in after 3 operations. He was the first major leaguer to die from injuries sustained on the field.
Jesus.
Wow.
Gangrene set in.
Yeah, if you look at findagrave.com, you'll see that Frank Russo wrote, he died from internal injuries sustained while chasing a foul ball in Shibe Park's inaugural game April 12th, 1909. And once again, just because rule of 3, we all love comedy here, if you see Bleacher Report's listicle from June 2011, it says the following. The first Major League Baseball player to die from injuries sustained on the field was Doc Powers. So, he did die. He fucking died, guys. In April 1909, Powers was a catcher for the Philadelphia Athletics. In the first game at Shibe Park, he crashed into a wall, chasing a fly ball. I don't know why I'm reading this again. Sorry, I started at the wrong point. But none of this is true at all. Like, he might have crashed into a wall chasing a pop fly. There's no doubt like that could happen. But no article or breakdown of the game mentions anything of the sort. It's all bullshit, and we know so because of Robert D. Warrington, who wrote an article that was published in the 2014 Sabre Fall Baseball Research Journal, in which Warrington dug through the game accounts that surround and the surrounding coverage from the local press, and what he found was a very kind of simple and less heroic explanation for Doc's death. And this, boys, fellas, people, is where we start talking about sandwiches.
All right.
Hey, you said there'd be sandwich discourse, and I forgot until just now.
So I'll bring it back here, but at age 38, Doc Powers would play his final game, as mentioned, April 12th, 1909. He played hard and caught his battery mate and friend, Eddie Plank, who would throw a complete game, allowing just one unearned run. The A's would win. It was a great thing, but something was wrong with Doc. He was putting in an admirable effort, but was noticeably sick squatting in front of podcast alumni and brutal Empire Tim Hurst. He would go 1 for 4 with a run scored, but was described as looking extremely uncomfortable in the 8-1 win over the Red Sox. Doc collapsed in the locker room at the game's end and was transported to Northwest General Hospital because a physician from the hospital was at Shad Park, and after making a hasty diagnosis in the clubhouse, advised sending him there. So I think there was a closer hospital, but they were like, no, I work at this one, send him there. So he didn't, he's hurt somehow, but there's nothing recorded that says he hurt himself on the field running into a wall or something. So right. I'll quote it now from the Philadelphia Inquirer, which reported, "The only thing that occurred to cast a shadow over the joy of the fans was the seizure of Doc Powers with acute gastritis in the 7th inning. The redoubtable catcher, however, refused to abandon his post behind the plate, and though suffering intense agony, pluckily stuck to it until the end of the game. On the verge of collapse, he was taken to Northwest General Hospital, where last night it was stated by physicians attending to him that he would probably be able to don a uniform again in a few days."
Okay. So they're hopeful for his return?
And
I mean, he did go 1 for 4.
Yeah, he went 1 for 4. I think it was a double, too.
So he's okay.
I think he scored a run. Yeah, he's great. But, so they're saying gastritis, right? Which is like basically like, yeah, you got diarrhea. Like, your stomach's upset. And the culprit, at first, was believed to be a sandwich.
All right.
Okay.
Back to the Philadelphia Inquirer, April 13th now, 1909. Powers ate a few sandwiches before the game, and these, with undue excitement, the doctor labored under during the game, brought on the attack, which did more to knock him out than any of the foul tips shot off the Boston Bats.
Taken down by a sandwich.
Yeah. So once again, this article saying, like, apparently this sandwich, like, nothing that happened in the game hurt him as much as apparently this sandwich. We'll find out.
It's like Homer Simpson, the 6-foot sub.
Yeah, this is a cheese sandwich we're talking about. This was a cheese sandwich, everyone, where it was blamed on a cheese sandwich we had hammered down before the game and upset his stomach. And goddamn, imagine being Tim Hurst and he's squatting in front of you.
Shitting his pants while squatting in front of you.
I think you should leave this game, Doc. No, I'm good. So, the New York Times reported, it was said to have been caused by a sandwich he ate while the game was in progress. So now the sandwich is on the field.
We've placed the sandwich in the dugout.
Yeah.
It was made by the trainer.
Yeah, so no matter what he ate that day, or probably even the day before, it was revealed that a cheese sandwich was not what killed Doc Powers. Whatever it was, though, and as you'll see, it's very, very serious. So he would die on April 26, 1909, at the age of 38. The early assessment of Powers were positive, but when his condition worsened, the doctors were forced to operate on Powers. During the surgery, surgeons discovered that Powers had 15 inches of gangrenous intestine. This was something that could not have happened in a day, and definitely was not caused by a sandwich, a foul tip, or running into the bleachers after chasing a pop fly. Powers was suffering from intussusception. I think I said the intussusception.
Doesn't matter. It sounds rather shitty, yeah.
Just extreme bubble guts.
Yeah. Intussusception is a rare disorder where basically part of your intestines like slide into each other, and it causes them to like start rotting.
Like when like the spinach starts rotting, like at the bottom of the
Just gets boogery.
the container, just all coagulates. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's like stops everything from passing through, and it just collects and just blocks off and starts to rot.
It's like an ooze blockage.
Yeah, but also like if you find this early enough, it's normally not that big of a deal. But at this point, they opened him up. It wasn't the same. Like it's not. He didn't have the surgery and gangrene.
There's a cheese sandwich in here.
They didn't have the surgery and then gangrene set in. They had the surgery and they were like, "Oh, this guy's full of gangrene. Like it's not good."
Okay.
So the situation was serious, but surgeons were optimistic that Doc's condition would improve. It did not. A week later, they had to perform a second operation where they did all these things. The hope was really short-lived. On the morning of April 25th, his condition began to deteriorate. A third operation was revealed he was experiencing acute dilation of the heart. At that point, Doc Powers slipped in and out of consciousness, and at 9:14 on the morning of April 26th, Michael Doc Powers died. According to one newspaper account, Powers, with his medical training, knew of his impending doom and cried out before dying, "I am so sorry, guys. Fuck, I forgot about this part. I've got no pulse! I've got no pulse!"
Oh my god.
Which is absolutely horrifying to just,
To be conscious and feel your heart stopping
Yep.
and exclaim it to the world.
Yeah. So we're not quite done here, but as you can tell, he did not die from running into a wall or a foul tip. He died because he had a condition that's pretty rare, and he probably ignored for a long time, because there's no way that he basically that's one of the weirdest things.
It sounds like he'd been shitting his pants for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a doctor, so he should have known better. Like, honestly, I don't want to get into on my soapbox about male health and stuff like that, but go to the doctor if your stomach hurts. Like, come on. Even a doctor
You might
didn't
have
do
15 inches of gangrenous intestine. You don't know.
So Connie Mack,
Have you had a cheese sandwich recently?
Yeah.
we all have had cheese sandwiches recently. We're all people. Okay?
Made grilled cheese last night.
Exactly. So Connie Mack eulogized his friend in the Philadelphia Inquirer on April 27th, 1909. To me, his death comes as a great personal shock. He was the only player left on the team which opened the first American League championship season at Columbia Park, and there existed between us a bond of friendship that makes the separation doubly hard to bear. So poor Connie, he lost his buddy.
Mm-hmm.
The funeral
God, he was a great card player.
He owes me money still.
Yeah.
The funeral took place at St. Elizabeth's Roman Catholic Church on April 29th, and thousands showed up to pay their respects, so many that the surrounding streets were crowded with mourners as the church was at its capacity. Powers left behind a wife, Florence, and now 3 children. They were out of a husband and a provider. Connie Mack approached AL President Ban Johnson about sponsoring a benefit at Shibe Park to financially aid the Power family, and on June 30th, 1910, was selected as Doc Powers Day. The day would feature a baseball skills competition and an exhibition game, and all the proceeds would go to the family. You guys,
That's nice.
yeah. Some of you listening are going to know these names. Some of you listening in this room are not going to know some of these names. You guys want to hear who won the skills competition on Doc Powers Day?
Yes, please.
So Harry Hooper threw a ball 356 feet and 4 inches, which is fucking impressive.
I've heard of him.
Harry Hooper, runner-up, Tris Speaker, could only manage 345 feet and 7.5 inches, which is still, that's huge. That's an absolute, it's a great arm. Pat Donahue of Philadelphia had the most accurate arm. Eddie Collins was the fastest around the bases. And in a relay base running competition, Philadelphia and Boston tied. The race was run a second time, and both teams tied again.
Even matchup, man.
So what do we do now? Coin toss.
All right.
Philly won the race on a coin toss, which is dumb.
Yes.
So to finish off, a special program was printed for Doc Powers Day. It was sold for 10 cents a piece. All the proceeds from the sales went to the Doc Powers family. To encourage attendees to buy the program, each copy was numbered, and Florence Power would choose 2 numbers in a drawing. One winner would receive a free pass to attend athletics home games for the remainder of the season, while the other winner would receive a pass to attend the rest of the Phillies home games for the rest of the season. Pretty good win.
Prizes, yeah.
Doc Powers Day was a grand success by newspaper accounts. More than 12,000 people paid admission, and $8,000 was raised for his family. It's about $270,000 in today's money, which is probably goes a longer way than today, too. So It's a good chunk of change. Philadelphia sports writer George Graham eulogized the intelligent, clunky old backstop in the program on Doc Powers Day. Powers was always a far better catcher than he was credited with being. He wasn't much of a hitter, in fact, one of the poorest in the league, and he was painfully slow on the bases. But behind the bat, he was alert-minded, he handled the mitt well, and had a great arm. And that, guys, was Doc Powers. The first guy to die not during a game, but rumored to have been killed.
Eat your heart out, Lou Gehrig.
Yeah.
Ray Chapman.
Ray Chapman, yeah.
Get out of the record books there.
It's much more of a Lou Gehrig story than a Ray Chapman story.
Right.
I thought, honestly, guys, I thought it was going to be a Ray Chapman story. And if anybody doesn't know Ray Chapman, early episode we did, he gets hit in the head by a pitch and dies. Sorry to give it away, but it's probably one of the most famous stories in baseball. So I thought, when I looked into this, I was like, oh my god, this guy like runs into a fence and then bleeds out. Like that was the kind of story I thought we had.
But he's had a Mama Cass sandwich and died of bubble gut.
And we appreciate you setting the record straight on that, Sean.
Yeah, it kind of sucked to like have my dreams dashed, but I mean, it was much more interesting to talk about the legend and then the possibility of sandwich side as opposed to the real story. But anyways, that was fun. I don't know. Hope you guys liked that one.
That was great. Thank you, buddy.
Loved it.
Yeah, and thanks for setting the record straight on that story, Sean, and thanks again for thanks again for 100 episodes, and here's to hopefully 100 more. And thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, congrats, guys. 100 episodes. That's huge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
We're celebrating. Let's go to 200.
we're going to 200. We're going to take a break, though. This is the last episode of, I guess you could call this season, which is season 5, if we want to put it. We'll be back in 2024. Probably late January. We'll have episodes for you every 2 weeks, telling you about baseball history. Edsy, really proud that we got here.
I'm proud of you too, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, just something I look forward to. It's an intellectual exercise that I love doing, and it keeps us close. And I couldn't ask for a better baseball bud.
Oh, that's nice, buddy. And I share the same sentiment. I'm not going to get as long-winded, though.
Thanks. One more time, let's go in reverse order this time. Spence, tell I don't know if you have social media, but say a little something about yourself. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, check out my band FACEPLANT, and we're out there. Enjoy.
FacePlant's fucking sick. So,
thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Stray Rebel Bullet. It's JP. You wanna plug your plugs one more time?
Yeah. Check out the band Stray Rebel Bullets on all the streaming platforms, and find me on Spotify too. Jean Poincelet on Spotify. I got some stuff coming out.
It was great to see you, JP. I love you, buddy.
You too, Spence. Yeah, I haven't seen you. I haven't seen you. I don't think since you were on my old show, the morning after.
That's true. Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while, but you're one of my favorite people, and I just adore you. So it's good to see you.
Likewise, just like the rest of you, Sean and Eds too.
We feel the same way, JP. We love you, buddy.
We love you guys, and that's why we wanted you to be here for this monumentous occasion. And it's been a long time since I don't think the 4 of us have ever been in a room together before, but in threes we've been in several rooms together.
Well, hey, what day is Doc Powers Day again? Do you remember?
Oh God, I gotta just open it up here. I think it was June 30th, 1910.
All right, June 30th. What do you say, guys? We meet up here June 30th. We have a cheese sandwich together.
Sounds like a plan.
That
Rules.
That is it. We'll post photos to our Twitter and stuff. Which is Edsy.
Yes.
At Doing Baseball and Instagram and TikTok at Doing.Baseball. And my personal is at EdsDoBaseball.
That's right. You can follow me at Sean Do Baseball. However you're listening to this, whether Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Podbean, whatever you're doing, however you're doing it, we really appreciate you coming out, listening to us. Tell your friends. Tell your not your friends. Just tell everybody. Tell everybody about it and give us a review. We really appreciate reviews. It helps the podcast, and you know what? We're going to be here for another 100 episodes, whether you like it or not. So you might as well give us some feedback. Just saying.
And until next time.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Eds.
We were doing the baseball. Thanks, Spence. Thanks, JP.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Nintendo Switch situation. So he just like reaches behind him, pulls up the Switch. I'm like, this guy's fucking dialing it in. I was so jealous.
See?
Got the mattress inside baseball, man. Nice.
Definitely. He's definitely jerked off on that.
Oh, 100%.
I know your type.
JP, I know this is the equivalent of me being like, hey, I'm going to Montreal. We should hang out. But like, I'll be in Phoenix for a couple weeks in February.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm on.
I live in a different state.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
And he had a ton of very specific cola.
Yeah, very. Wait,
He was a cola connoisseur?
Oh, the kid who made us sandwiches?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He's like, I got a bunch of RCs for you guys too. Telling 10 people to come over to your place for cheese sandwiches and RC colas and weed. We were just like
started running.
we just started jogging and high
It was
fiving.
like a Motel 8 with like 11 people in one room. Or that.
Spence, Sean, Edsy, I'll see you guys later.
Till next time, buddy.
Love you,
All right,
bye.
man.
Bye
Later.
now. See ya.